Ya Ali Madad, my dear friends, welcome once again to the Esoteric Study Circle. In today's deep dive, we'll explore the Living Ark, an Ismaili esoteric reflection on the story of Prophet Nuh, Noah, that is. Welcome to another deeply reflective session where we journey beyond the surface of Scripture into, well, the hidden ocean of divine meaning. Today, we explore the eternal living reality of Prophet Nuh's Ark, not as some story of the past, but really as a mirror to our own spiritual condition right now. What if the flood wasn't actually water, but maybe distraction? What if the ark wasn't wood, but light? And what if the one building that ark today was still among us? In this session, we aim to uncover the profound symbolism behind the ark, the flood, the wind, the mountains, and how all of these point to the living presence of the Imam of the time. This isn't just a tale of survival, it's a call to awaken, to board, and importantly, to serve. Let us begin our journey into the timeless truths of the Quran, guided by esoteric understanding, by recognition, and by the eternal call to the truth. So take a deep breath, still your heart, and join us as we reflect on this sacred message. A message that is as much for us today as it will be for generations to come. And before we begin, don't forget to subscribe to our channel so you can stay connected to every new reflection we share.
Okay, so we're embarking on this deep dive into the ancient yet, ever-present narrative of Prophet Nuh or Noah. It's a story many of us think we know, but our aim here is to peel back the layers, examine it through an esoteric lens, a way of understanding its hidden spiritual meanings. So before the flood, before the ark itself, what was the spiritual landscape like? What was humanity facing when Noah was sent? Our sources, they paint a rather stark picture.
They really do. What our sources reveal is a humanity profoundly adrift, just lost. We learned that nearly a millennium after Prophet Adam, the world had plunged into what's described as heedlessness, moral corruption, and spiritual decay. Sounds pretty bad. Imagine a time where, despite this lineage of prophets, Satan, the forces of misguidance, had become incredibly successful. It created this sort of playground of ego, materialism, and arrogance. People were so stuck in their ways that they defiantly rejected the divine message, just turned away. In this context, Nuh arrives not as a punisher, but as a divine mercy. A final chance, really, an opportunity to reclamation, a spiritual reset for a world just teetering on the edge of, utter spiritual oblivion.
Wow, that paints a powerful image of a world that had truly lost its way, completely off course. And Nuh, as this divine mercy, he experienced immense personal suffering. The texts describe him not merely being ignored, but utterly cast out. Exiled to the shore, stripped of food, family, or followers. It's hard to even fathom that level of isolation. What was the point? What was the purpose of such a profound metaphysical trial for a prophet?
Yeah, it's a critical point to think about, isn't it? This wasn't just physical hardship. It was a deep metaphysical trial, designed specifically to test Nuh's endurance to its absolute limit through this extreme outward rejection. Yet amidst this profound loneliness and external abandonment, he maintained this unwavering inner certainty, rock solid inside. Our sources really emphasize that despite the immense provocation, he never retaliated with hatred. Not once. Instead, he preached with patience and warned with love, continually extending that invitation over and over. His eventual prayer for divine intervention, the point of no return, it only came when he fully realized not a single soul was listening. Just no one. It was a moment of absolute spiritual surrender, a recognition that humanity had reached a point beyond his personal ability to guide them. Not an outburst of anger, not at all.
Right. And this brings us to a really pivotal moment. Nuh utters this monumental prayer, quoted directly in the Quran. "My Lord, do not leave a single disbeliever on earth." Now, for many, this sounds incredibly definitive, almost like, a cry for vengeance. How should we understand this prayer from an esoteric perspective, especially given Nuh's preceding patience?
Well, that's an astute observation and leads us straight to an important question. Was this truly vengeance? The esoteric interpretation clarifies that it was profoundly not a cry of vengeance, not even close. Rather, it was the cry of a soul who witnessed a humanity beyond redemption, a prophet's deep sorrow, a recognition that divine mercy had consistently, fallen on deaf ears. This prayer, therefore, it signaled the beginning of the divine process of selection, a cosmic filtration, a sifting, if you will. It wasn't about God just destroying arbitrarily, but about revealing the inner truth of souls, distinguishing those who had truly defiantly hardened their hearts from those who might still possess a spark, some receptive inwardness. It marked a necessary separation.
Okay, that makes sense. So after this profound prayer, this turning point, the divine command arrives. Allah instructs Nuh to build the ark under our eyes and by our revelation. And our sources are very clear that this ark was far, far more than just a physical boat. What was its true deeper meaning.
Exactly. And when we connect this to the broader spiritual narrative, the Ark emerges as, well, a metaphysical covenant, a structure of salvation, and most importantly, a visible representation of divine light, or that pure spiritual essence of God's guidance. Think about it. Nuh had no prior understanding or experience of building a boat. None at all. The divine revelation, therefore, unveiled this incredibly intimate bond between the divine and his chosen friend, or wali, a term for a spiritual intimate of God. So God acted through Nuh, effectively making the human prophet a vessel of divine will and light. The Ark, then, wasn't just wood and nails. It was divine presence made manifest through a chosen being for the salvation of those souls who were ready to receive it.
Imagining the scene, Nuh must have been constructing this totally unprecedented vessel using only trees and ropes made from vines, all while enduring relentless mockery and ridicule from everyone around him. They questioned, what is a ship? What is this flood you keep talking about? This kind of disbelief, this derision, it feels incredibly resonant today, doesn't it? That resistance to a call that seems, out of place to the everyday mind.
Absolutely. It's uncanny, really. The source explicitly states their mockery is not ancient. It is eternally contemporary. It's happening right now. Even in our own time, when the Imam, the spiritual guide of the age, warns of spiritual drowning, the deluge of heedlessness and distraction, we hear echoes of that ancient derision. Exactly the same. People might say, oh, we've heard this for 1,500 years. Let us enjoy this life. Just dismissing profound spiritual warnings for immediate gratification. Yet the parallel is striking. Quote, like Noah, the Imam of the time continues to build his ark, his invitation to truth, his guidance, his community, patiently waiting for sincere souls to recognize it and, get on board. The call to salvation, even though it might be mocked, it remains constant, always there.
Right. This is truly where the deep dive into esoteric understanding just shines. Our sources offer such powerful, multi-layered symbolism for every element of this narrative. The flood, the wind, the water, even the mountains. Could you unpack these for us, reveal the spiritual codes embedded within each one?
Yes, this is really the heart of the esoteric approach. It shows how these elements aren't just physical details, but profound, living truths. Let's break it down. First, water. It's revealed as knowledge, ilm. Not just facts, mind you, but profound spiritual wisdom. And like literal water, ilm can give life or destroy. It can nourish you, or it can be overwhelming destructive, depending on how it's understood and used.
Okay. Life-giving or destructive. Got it.
Then the wind. This symbolizes divine inspiration, that subtle guiding force. The good wind, referenced in the Quran, represents the whisper of divine guidance that steers and empowers the soul, moving it towards spiritual growth, like a sail catching the right breeze. Now, the Ark itself, it's explicitly defined as the Imam himself, his invitation, his guidance in the spiritual path. It's dynamic, a living reality, a constant point of spiritual refuge in every single era.
So the Imam is the Ark?
In essence, yes. And mountains, they aren't just landforms. They represent false scholars, lofty in appearance, but hollow inside. They symbolize pride, intellectual arrogance, or really any seemingly stable but ultimately empty source of refuge that people might trust in over actual divine guidance. Things that look impressive but offer no real safety.
Right, like worldly status or something.
Exactly.
Okay.
And finally, the flood. This is crucial. It's not merely water, but a spiritual event, a deluge of ignorance, misinformation, distraction, and ego that suffocates the soul. And this isn't just a metaphor, as Henry Corbin explains. It is a real inner event in every soul. The esoteric understanding saves the soul from drowning in the sea of Zahir-only understanding.
The literal outward meaning only.
Precisely. Focusing only on the external without appreciating the inner spiritual dimension. That's the drowning.
It's incredibly poignant then, almost heartbreaking, to read that Nuh's own son refused to board the Ark. He declared, "I will take refuge on a mountain which will protect me from the water," and his wife also refused the call. What profound lessons do these rejections offer us about spiritual arrogance? Or maybe even a misplaced sense of security?
Yeah, and this specific incident, it raises a profoundly important question for us today. Really makes you think. Nuh's son placed his trust in a false system, believing his own intellect, position, or even perhaps proximity to his prophet father would save him. His faith was in a physical mountain, a symbol of ego or worldly status, rather than the spiritual ark.
Mountain we just talked about.
Exactly that mountain. And Nuh's reply was stark, absolute. Today, no one is protected from Allah's decree except those to whom he shows mercy. And that mercy, in our esoteric context, was embodied by the Ark, which means the Imam. Nuh's wife, similarly, represents those who might be close to spiritual truth physically, maybe through lineage or community, but disconnected inwardly. No real connection. The critical insight here is this. Closeness to the Imam without obedience and true recognition, marifa, is a veil, not a bridge. It just blocks the view. It's a powerful reminder that outward association, just being around, means very little without inner commitment and genuine submission.
Okay, so bringing this ancient narrative right into our present moment, what does this all mean for us, for you, the listener, today? Our sources directly connect Nuh's story to our current age. This era, characterized by information overload, material distraction, and egoic comfort, truly feels like we're living in our own version of that pre-flood world, constantly bombarded.
It does feel that way, doesn't it? And when we connect Nuh's experience to the bigger picture, it becomes clear that the Imam of the time is in fact the Noah of our era. He is constantly calling out, enter the ark, join the dawat, the call, the invitation to the spiritual path, take the covenant, bay'ah.
Yet, just like those who hesitated way back in Noah's time, we delay. We put it off. We might assume, oh, we're Ismaili, we know where the ark is, perhaps relying on our identity alone, thinking that's enough.
Just knowing is enough.
Well, that's the question, isn't it? The crucial question for each of us becomes, do we truly board it? Do we serve the ark? Meaning, do we participate actively in its mission? Do we surrender ourselves to those winds of inspiration? Because the danger for those who merely stand beside the ark, hang on to the rails, or maybe wave from the shore is very real. Drowning if they don't fully submit to the imamat, the institution of the imam, in both exoteric and esoteric ways.
Outwardly and inwardly.
Both, meaning both outwardly through practice and inwardly through that deep spiritual connection. So the ark, then, it's much more than just a place of physical safety. Our source describes it as a symbol of call to truth, with its sacred hierarchy and progressive initiations. That suggests a living structure of light, implying not just survival, but like dynamic spiritual growth, a profound ascent within a spiritual system.
Exactly. And what's truly fascinating here is the understanding that this ark isn't some static object. It is sustained and carried by the souls who have surrendered themselves entirely to the divine will. Their obedience, love, and recognition transform them into bearers of this luminous ark. They become part of its structure, its energy. The Imam, as the manifestation of God's infinite mercy, Roma, is both the helmsman steering the course and the living embodiment of the ark itself. Therefore, entering the ark in the name of Allah, as quoted from the Quran, is a profoundly significant act. It's comparable, our sources say, to the angels bowing to Adam, an acknowledgement of the perfect human as the bearer of divine names, a complete surrender to the divinely appointed guide and the spiritual path he represents. It's that fundamental act of recognition, Marifa.
The narrative then culminates with the ark settling on Mount Judy and Allah proclaiming, "Peace be upon Noah among the worlds. We left his name and legacy among later generations." This doesn't just sound like a historical anecdote wrapping things up. It sounds like an enduring blessing, right? A continuous spiritual inheritance.
Precisely. That's exactly what it is. This proclamation signifies an unbroken continuity. Noah's blessing, his guidance, his spiritual inheritance continues through the chain of imams. Unbroken. The spiritual flood you see in its various forms, illusion, heedlessness, it continues in every age. But crucially, so does divine mercy, channeled through this unbroken chain of spiritual leadership. It underscores that the Iman itself is the living legacy of Noah. So let's maybe distill some key takeaways for you, the listener, from this powerful, timeless narrative. Things that really help connect these profound insights to your own spiritual journey right now. First, the Ark is the Imam of every era, a living, dynamic vessel carrying receptive souls. Without this living guide, salvation in its deepest sense, it just remains inaccessible.
The living guide. Crucial.
Yeah. Second, the floods are the floods of illusion. All those overwhelming currents. Modernity, nihilism, maybe pseudo-scholarship, arrogance, often disguised as intellect. They constantly threaten to submerge our souls. Third, only recognition, marifa, matters. No lineage, no title, no ritual can truly replace that inner conscious connection to the living Imam. That's the real foundation.
Fine, interconnection.
Fourth, the mountains of ego cannot save you. Worldly wealth, academic success, celebrity, even rigid ritualism. They might look stable, strong, but they are never high enough to escape the spiritual deluge or the ultimate divine reality. Fifth, the Ark is being built now, right now, in your lifetime, in your neighborhood, through the Imam's guidance and the collective effort of the Dawat. The question isn't, is it ready? It's, are you willing to join in? Which leads to 6, services boarding. To actively serve the Dawat, the call, is to ride the Ark, to participate, contribute, to mock, delay, or just stay passive. Well, that's risking spiritual drowning. 7, Spiritual trials will arrive. The ark isn't built when the rain starts. It's built in anticipation. Your soul has to prepare, be ready before the spiritual waters touch your feet.
Be prepared.
8. Noah's story is your mirror. Remember, the Quran isn't just history. It reveals eternal realities. Every age has its Noah, its flood, its ark. This story reflects your own potential journey. 9. Divine mercy flows through Imamat. Noah's legacy of preservation and guidance manifests continuously through the Imam. It's a living stream. And finally, 10. Your destiny is unwritten. You decide. You are the one who decides your response to this timeless call. Will you board, build, serve, or will you remain outside until it might be too late?
This, then, is clearly so much more than just an ancient story. It's a timeless divine instruction, isn't it? Where every detail is an eternal code guiding us right here, right now in our contemporary lives.
And that leads us to the final, really critical question for you to deeply reflect upon. Our source encapsulates it so powerfully. The ark is alive. It is the Imam. The flood is rising. It is the world you live in. The call is echoing. It's the invitation to awaken. The challenge posed is direct, unavoidable. Do not look to the past for salvation. Your soul's flood is now. Happening right now. It asks you personally, do I recognize the ark? Have I actually entered? Am I serving the one building it? Or am I just hoping to be rescued from the mountain of my own ego? Big questions. As we bring this journey to a close, dear listeners, remember, the ark is not just a relic of history. It is being built even now, within the soul, by the hand of the living Imam. The flood is not coming. It has already begun. And the call. It echoes in every moment of remembrance, every act of service, every breath of awareness. This session was a humble attempt to remind us all that salvation is not inherited, but chosen. That proximity to truth is not enough. Only recognition, obedience, and devotion will keep us afloat in the ocean of falsehood. So take a moment to reflect. Ask yourself, am I boarding the ark or watching from a distance? Am I waiting for dry land in a world already submerged? If this message touched your heart, please subscribe to the Esoteric Study Circle channel. Your support in subscribing gives us the strength and confidence to continue creating more profound and enlightening reflections and to bring them to you as quickly as possible. Until we meet again with another luminous message, may you walk in peace, may your heart remain open to light, and may you always feel the presence of the Imam with you. Ya Ali Madat.